Welcome to the Missouri Valley Conference Game of the Week preview show presented by Mercy, the official orthopedics and sports medicine provider of the Missouri Valley Conference. With Coach Matthew Graves of Indiana State, I'm Harry Schroeder. And Wednesday at 6 p.m. on your local Gray media station and Matrix Midwest here in St. Louis, the Sycamores will be hosting the Bradley Braves. And Matt Graves, thanks for joining us today. Real easy game. You have Ohio State on Sunday, Bradley on Wednesday, just another walk in the park. The schedules are never easy when you're a Missouri Valley Conference team, are they?
Yeah, they don't get easy. You have tough games wherever you go, and certainly, the great thing about the Missouri Valley is, you got 20 really great opportunities to get better. So, it's an anomaly. I mean, obviously, we play Bradley on January 1st, but guess what? We play them again in 2 weeks after that. So, it's one of those deals where ultimately you're playing almost everybody twice. So whether you play them in early January or late February, to me, you've got to play them all, and you've got to be prepared, no matter who you're playing. So anybody, I think this league's shown year after year, anybody can beat anybody on any given night in a 40-minute game, home, road. That's just we have a lot of parity in this league, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, Valpo gave them fits on Sunday. I want to talk about your Sunday game briefly, Ohio State. That's such a great experience for your guys, I know, to play in a big time environment like that. And at the half, you're down by 5 against an outstanding Big Ten team. What are the things you gain out of playing a really elite, program like that?
Well, again, I think our guys were obviously excited. Sometimes you get around the Christmas holidays, and whether it's coaches always fret over the before game Christmas and that first game after. You just never know, quite what you're going to get. And obviously we did probably the two extremes. Playing a non-division one, before Christmas, and then obviously after, playing a top, 30 net team. I think they were 24, 25 going into the game. But, our guys were excited. Practices were really good. We had 3 practices leading up to our game with Ohio State. So, that was very encouraging. And then, ultimately, we got to play a lot of guys, and we got to play a lot of young guys. I think one time for a stretch out there, and somebody may need to check my mental capacity when I was doing this. We had 3 freshmen and 2 sophomores, out there running around, and it was, an 8-10 point game. So just a great opportunity to be in that environment, to, have those experiences together. And for the most part, I thought we competed. Certainly we left some things, on the board, especially defensively, that we need to improve upon. But, for that first half, I thought we did some really nice things.
8-5, 2-0 in the league. Early part of this season for you, first time back in that head coaching chair. How do you evaluate the Sycamores as of today?
I think we're ahead of schedule, to be quite honest. I don't want to say we're playing above our heads, because to me that's selling our team short. And I honestly, I don't believe that. I think, we're ahead of schedule because we've got guys that are very committed to what we're trying to do, especially offensively. We've got a lot of work to do defensively, and we have a little bit of a ceiling, in my opinion, on what we can do defensively, just because of our lack of physicality.
Hmm.
But that's part of it, and we need to adjust, and we need to improve and do some better things. But what I wanted to really evaluate was our first game when we played FAU. I thought that potentially could be the second best opponent we play in the non-conference. And then obviously Ohio State, I thought, would be the best opponent, that we played. And just comparing and contrasting how we started and where we are, I think we've made great strides. Certainly we've got different guys that are in the rotation, different guys that are stepping up. But I think we're starting to find a groove of our substitution patterns, and who's going to play what minutes and things like that. And I think that helps everybody get on the same page.
The last time we spoke, you were trying to get Aaron Gray back. I know he played 7 minutes on Sunday. What's his status? And Matthew, as we're going into these double headers and sometimes singular games of the week on Matrix Midwest, a lot of the Missouri Valley fans are getting their first look at the brand new teams that are really have been
Yeah.
cobbled together by the recruiting. And I'd love for you to talk to us a little bit about Camp Wagner. He's a guy that I don't think Valley fans know much about, but he's really doing some nice things for you.
Yeah, no, he certainly is. Camp's we recruited Camp 2 years ago and really liked him the first time around. And he ended up picking going to Rice University. He's from Texas and being kind of in his home state. But then they had a coaching change, and obviously we did too. So we were able to get him in the transfer portal, and what he provides for us. He's a great shooter with size, at 6'5", 6'6". He has a really good basketball IQ, and he just provides floor spacing, and he competes defensively. That's not an area of strength for him, but he competes and he understands how we want to play, and he values being a team guy, and those traits you're going to continue to get better and better. And as he grows and develops and he gets stronger, he's a really important piece, heading into Missouri Valley play here.
And Gray is getting healthier and healthier.
He is, Aaron's getting healthier. And, at this point, the difficult part is just the lack of reps that he's going to get. We've got some guys, Kamani Dottie is playing at a very, very high level. He's, you could argue yesterday if he wasn't in foul trouble most of the game, I think we could have played Ohio State a lot better. He played 15 minutes, had 10 points, and he was the only guy on our roster that was plus minus was positive, and he was above 10 when he was on the floor. So Aaron's got to continue to get back in shape and to continue to get into a rhythm. But right now we've got some guys in Kamani, and then freshman J.M. Walker is playing some good reserve minutes for us as a freshman. So the nice thing is, as a coach, you have options. And certainly we would like to get Aaron back in the fold and in the mix because of his experience and physicality. But that'll happen when it happens.
Let's talk a little bit about Bradley. They're pretty good. But
Yeah.
you were mentioning earlier that teams, anybody can beat anybody, and Valpo took them to double overtime on Sunday. But the combination of Hannah and Montgomery and Duke Dean and the others, Davis and others, they are a lot of weapons. Like, let's just talk a little bit about Bradley and what you guys have to do to be successful.
Well, I think first and foremost, we got to figure out how to probably keep them under 100. With the way we guard, it may be 105 to 102 if we want to win or something like that. And I'm not sure Coach Wardle would be real happy with his squad if he gave up 100. So, and I don't think they will. They guard too well to do that. So, they're a really explosive offensive team. They space the floor. Again, I like we were talking about with Camp Wagner, they got guys on the wing in Davis and Montgomery that have shooting with size. Atlason shooting with size. And as coaches, we really like that because you can space the floor. You can do some different defensive things with guys with size and their switching and things like that. So, we certainly understand how tough of a task it's going to be, and you go back in looking at how good teams are in this league offensively. It's amazing. I think we have 4 teams that are in the top 10 in the country in effective field goal percentage, and Bradley I haven't looked today, but at last look I think they were number 1 in 3-point field goal percentage. So they really stress your defense. And then when you got a guy like Darius Hannah rolling to the rim and his activity, they present a lot of problems. And we got the next 36 to 48 hours. We got a lot of things to figure out from a scouting perspective.
Yeah, when I think about Hannah and Dean and Montgomery, all those guys are like all conference guys
Yes,
potentially. And
absolutely.
and we saw it in that game Sunday. In the first overtime, Hannah took over, then he fouled out. Then the second overtime, Montgomery took over and they won the game. And they have 3 or 4 guys that can just take over games. Final 2 thoughts. First, this Brian Wardle. What makes him so successful? I have such immense respect for Brian Wardle.
Well, I think it's a consistency. He what I would call an old school coach. He holds those kids accountable. they play extremely hard. And also I don't, he's not afraid to evolve, defensively. I think they've always been really good. And over the last several years, I think they've been, even their offense has really evolved and it's continuing to improve and improve. So, that's a credit to him and his staff with the way they coach. And again, I'm just so impressed at how they hold their players accountable to do, their job on every play. It's really fun to watch on film. It's awful to play against.
Jaden Daughtry gets 25 for you on Sunday. Tell us a little bit about him, and then we'll let you go.
Well, I think Jaden's really done a good job of buying into who he is. Coming into the season, he liked to float on the perimeter, play around on the perimeter, shoot some threes, like a lot of big guys do. But ultimately, he understood his path to playing and his path to helping us win is to get in the seams, to play at the rim, be a forceful guy driving the ball. And once he kind of found himself in that role and really soared with that identity, his game's really taken off. And that doesn't mean we're not going to continue to help him expand and work on his game. But right now he's in a great rhythm and he understands what he can do to help this team win. And I'm really proud of how he's played for us.
Appreciate your time today, Matthew Graves of Indiana State. Our Wednesday night coverage begins at 6 p.m. Central. For information on where you can catch the games, please visit mvc-sports.com. For the Missouri Valley Conference, I'm Harry Schroeder.